I'm Waldo Krugell, and this is Economics Weekly. And today I want to talk about the 30% tariff that's been levied on South African exports into the US and our response package and what's happening to those exporters that we're all a little worried about. So the much feared Trump tariff is now in place. And that means that when our exports arrive in the US, whether it's citrus fruit or whether it's cars, a tariff, a tax of 30% is added onto their price. And that's making our exports quite expensive. And that if the price goes up, typically an economist would say the quantity demanded is going to decrease. And we're worried that if the demand for our exports decline, where will those products go? And what's going to happen to domestic production for these farmers, for these auto manufacturers, and a bunch of other sectors that are also affected? Now, our exports to the US has been in decline from March almost, and it's mainly been the automotive part of it. In anticipation of what's happening on the tariff side, for example, Mercedes-Benz South Africa has already suspended production of the C-Class. They're not saying that they're closing shop, but they've paused production for a couple of months already. So that shows up in the export numbers. In addition to this, the advice that exporters are getting is that they need to search for new markets. They need to diversify and pivot to China or India or wherever else. Often, the sort of advice that we see in the media is exactly it's ideas, and frequently it's not a plan yet. So if you talk about the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, it's a good idea, but in practice, moving cargo through Africa is complicated and expensive. And frequently, amongst African countries, the tariffs may not be that high, but the non-tariff barriers really limit trade. People say, well, let's just sell everything to China. But if you have a look at what we are selling to China at the moment, it's mostly unbeneficiated raw minerals and that go to China, and they're not really interested in buying our cars. We also don't have a free trade agreement with them, so we do have a lot of other smaller agreements. For example, the Minister Steenhuisen said this week that next season we'll be able to export stone fruit to China.
Significant in a number of ways. It's the first time that China has negotiated more than one product with us at a time. It's usually they focus on one fruit type. We got 5 in this particular deal: stone fruit, apricots, peaches, nectarines, plums, and prunes. These are obviously, we hope to conclude now this protocol on the sidelines of the G20.
But that doesn't mean it's open for business and the opportunities are just there. You really need to go and find them and consolidate them if you're the exporter. Now, the assistance package that the government, specifically the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, have put on the table for these exporters consists of 2 parts. The one part is information, which can be really valuable. If you want to move to other markets, you need to learn what is the size of the market, what's the growth of the market, who are your competitors, and what do the tariffs and the non-tariff barriers, etc., look like. And for every firm to go do that on their own can be expensive. So if the department is able to overcome that and provide information to these exporters, it could be really sensible. If it's enough to keep their doors open is a different story. We haven't heard anything about financial support from government side for these exporters. And the Minister of Finance, who should be the one giving the money, he's been quiet all along. The plans are coming from international relations and DTIC. The other part of the story is a so-called block exemption from competition regulation, which means that these exporters can now legally collaborate on a few things. So they can collaborate on the transport or the insurance or share market information. They're not allowed to get together to set prices or divide up the market or anything like that, but they can pool some of their resources to try and still be cost effective in the US market. Again, it's a difficult question about whether this is enough to really save these firms. And I'm worried that if there's no sort of additional measures coming through in the next year or so, a lot of these exporters are going to be under significant pressure. And The macro impact may not be that big. The Reserve Bank's talked about shaving off maybe a 0.2 percentage points off the growth rate and a small inflation impact, those sorts of things. But the local impacts are going to be big. So if you're producing citrus in Citrusdal, if you're producing cars in the Eastern Cape, that's where the tariffs are really going to lead to serious losses of output and employment. So that's the story. I hope you stay tuned to all of this. Like, share, comment, and I'll talk again next week.